A challenge in British Columbia. British Columbia has always sort of been a two-party system. They've always had, whether it was the Social Credit and the NDP, whether it was the BC Liberals and the NDP. However, what we've seen is the BC Liberals, or now they call themselves the United Party, has really lost the confidence of the people in the province. So they're looking for change. And that's what we're trying to do with the Conservative Party of British Columbia, is to be a big tent party. And like I always like to say, it's not about being conservative or liberal or NDP or green for that matter. It's just about standing for what's right and doing what's right for the people and fighting for the average everyday person. And so we're drawing people from across the spectrum. There still is a risk, of course, with the United Party. There's still a support base for the United Party, but we are leading now in the polls. And our hope is that we can continue to consolidate the people in this province that are looking for change, that are looking for common sense, to be able to bring them together and provide that good government for British Columbia.
And it's been refreshing to hear a voice for common sense coming out in the legislature there that's needed that voice for a long time. You'd proposed a private member's bill. You don't get many opportunities when you're in a small minority, so you have to choose carefully, but one that made sense to most people when talking about government-funded sports and just making sure that it remains fair for everybody to participate. Alberta actually is now brought in a similar policy. A lot of European countries have, but unfortunately it got shot down before first reading in the legislature.
Yeah, it was a simple little bill, but it was a first in Canada to be introduced in the legislature, which was a bill just to bring fairness for women and girls in sports. And basically what the bill does is to say that biological men should not be competing with women and girls in sports. And it makes sense. I mean, there's obviously physiological differences between male and female, but more than that, women have struggled to be identified as a person. They struggled to be identified to have the right to vote. They struggled to be able to enter into places. They've struggled for equal pay. And now they have to struggle for fairness in sports. It's crazy. That's why this bill was brought in, just to say enough of this nonsense, is bring it back to common sense. And quite frankly, we also need to make sure that we have safe spaces for women to be able to go, change rooms, washrooms, these types of things as well. It's an approach that we think is just the right thing to do in British Columbia, which is why we introduced that bill.
Well, that's it. And people have gone so far beyond common sense on this. I mean, there's trans individuals. Nobody wants to attack them or harm them, but we just have to ensure that, the activists have really overstepped reality in a lot of things when it came to sport, when it came to women's safety in washrooms, or even cases of women's shelters. And we've had some dangerous biological men put in with women who have been assaulted by other men in the past. It was a terrible notion. Nobody was speaking up for them. So another issue that you've been speaking with our own Linda Slobodian on, it's been a bizarre one going on out in BC with a 14-year-old girl who's been performing apparently in some pretty explicit circumstances on stages in BC. They say she's trans, but she's also autistic and has some other challenges. And I mean, this is just beyond the pale. You had stated that you were going to look into things and see if this is, there should be something the authorities can step in on. Have you had any progress with this?
So I have looked into this. I haven't had a chance to talk to the minister directly about it. The issue really is that if you're under 16, you're not allowed to work in BC. This is, I think, the labor laws that are in place, unless there's special circumstances associated with farming. And so there's those laws in place, but there's also, where you have an adult entertainment, you have to be of age to be able to perform there as well. And so there's something going on here, and I don't know why police haven't looked into it, and I don't know why the ministry hasn't looked into this either. It's one of those things that you kind of go like, how did this happen?